And the New York Times reports on a developing fantasy football scandal. Two major fantasy sports companies are involved. A worker allegedly used insider knowledge to win hundreds of thousands of dollars. Jeff Glor is here with the allegations rocking this multi-billion-dollar industry. Jeff, good morning.
Charlie, good morning to you. Daily fantasy sports has become a money machine. This report raises big questions about who's at the controls.
Looks in for the 24, takes a shot downfield, it's caught for the touchdown!
On game days, and seemingly every day this fall, the ads are everywhere. Now, so is the money.
1 week fantasy football leagues are paying $75 million a week.
But the business model is now under the microscope after allegations of what essentially amounts to insider trading.
Play for your share every single day. Just pick your sport.
According to a report in the New York Times, a DraftKings employee admitted he released early data on what specific players were most used in starting lineups ahead of the NFL's third week. Getting that early information ahead of the curve could serve as an advantage. The employee went on to win $350,000 that week betting on a rival fantasy football website, FanDuel.
It gives somebody an edge. I mean, it's no different than someone in professional sports taking steroids and then, blasting home runs out the park. Maybe that's a little extreme, but the premise is the same because you have an edge.
In a joint statement, the industry leaders, DraftKings and FanDuel, defended their practices, in part saying employees with access to this data are rigorously monitored by internal fraud control teams, and we have no evidence that anyone has misused it. The sites use a relatively new format, paying out big cash prizes on a daily or weekly basis instead of season-long traditional fantasy leagues.
Bell cuts back and takes it to the end zone for the touchdown.
Daily fantasy sports is big business and mostly unregulated, raking in billions of dollars per season. The federal government doesn't define it as gambling, instead calling it a game of skill, not chance.
This business is very unregulated. I mean, seriously, we've come a long way from the dorm room playing amongst your friends to now the corporate sphere that is fantasy football.
And get your cash winnings after Monday night.
But for the nearly 60 million people who take part in this game of skill, the question now is whether they're also being suckered.
DraftKings and FanDuel both ban employees from taking part in gaming on their own sites, and as of yesterday, have temporarily barred employees from taking part in any other rival sites as well.
All right.
Thanks.
We need an education in fantasy football.
Yeah.
Just like all three of us have never had Chick-fil-A, and we've never played fantasy football.
We'll hold an overtime session.
I need fantasy football 101, Jeff. That's what I need right now.
Book it.
All right.
Okay. Thank you.